Hello friends, been a pretty hectic week, and sometimes in the doom and gloom it is a question of perspective. How do we choose to see things? And one of the most ironic and fascinating stories of how someone can choose to see things is in this week's Parsha, where this fellow Bilam is hired to come along and supposedly has these superpowers, and his job was to curse the Jewish people. Long before him and long after him came along people who sought to share words of destruction towards our people. And we all know how the story goes. He gets up there atop the mountain, oversees the people who his absolute intent was to curse and to spew hatred towards, and he opens his mouth and says some of the most beautiful poetic words were repeated in the prayer each day. Matovu ohalecha Yaakov, how beautiful is your dwellings, Jacob, Mishkanasecha Yisrael. And in place of spewing hate, his mouth shares words of blessing and kindness. And what is it? And there's much ink that's been spilled over this idea, but sometimes it is in our hands to flip a narrative and to change from the way things are perceiving to be and seem to be, follow me here, and instead of seeing the negative in something, even if that was the intent and even if that's how in the individual's perception they had perceived that to be, if we choose to use words of support and uplift, we can change the narrative and the reality on the ground to be ones of positivity, help, support, and blessing. So what are those situations that we are faced with where we can approach it with a negative eye and really see not necessarily hatred, but the cup half empty side of things? And how can we flip that narrative, find a positive element of what it is that we're looking at, use our words to express that, and change and flip the narrative and make out of something that might seem to be quite off-putting or sad or upsetting, something happy, joyous, and uplifting. Something to think about over the weekend. Shabbat Shalom to you and your families.